What's going on, fam? I'm back again. Today, we're going to talk about age, more specifically, getting older. And our youngest co-host, B, he's not here today, so it's just OGs in the house, me and Carl. We're going to talk about, our experience with getting older. Carl, I can remember when we were young, we thought our parents were old and they was in like their 30s, and here we are mid 50s. And I'm saying to myself, my parents at 35 had 10 times the wisdom that I have now. But that was the 70s and 80s. Now we have a lot to contend with. And I have to wonder if our parents, more specifically our fathers, went through some of the same things that we went through in terms of getting older. Health challenges, things like that. There's a good side, there's a bad side. So let's start with, you want to start with the good or bad? Which one? Because
Let's start the good before it go downhill.
good. Okay. For me, the one thing that I've noticed is my level of peace has grown. And I equate that to my life's experiences. I don't let certain things bother me like they used to. And it's not because what I find too is that some people look at that as being nonchalant and not caring, when in actuality it's the exact opposite. Because I've reached a certain level in my life where I'm like, okay, number one, if I don't have any control over it, what's the point of me even concerning myself with it? I let it flow, and that'll be that. Empathy, that's another one. Man, when I tell you back in the day, I couldn't even spell it, much less be it. Now I find myself being, more empathetic and compassionate and, looking out for people, so on and so forth. Understanding. That's another one. So I'm on that journey, and I'm liking where I'm at so far. But again, 20s and 30s, I would have never envisioned myself being where I am now, just in terms of my level of thinking. Because again, I didn't have anybody to say, you know what, when you get to your 50s, you're going to pretty much have it figured out. And while I don't, I'm almost there. I'm probably about 80%. So,
Yeah, I mean, those three that you hit on are very much part of my journey as well. I will say that when you're in your 20s, particularly starting out in a career, you've got a plan. And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then this is going to work out, and I'm going to do this, and boom, 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 boom. And by the time I'm 50, this is where I'm going to be. And then you find out very quickly that you don't have control over a whole lot of those things that you thought was your plan.
What's that saying they have? If you want to know if God's got a sense of humor, tell him your plans.
Exactly. Exactly. I know when I started going to college, my aspiration was to become an attorney. I am not an attorney.
I don't play one on TV.
I don't play one on TV. Never even been to law school. But that was my plan. Not that I'm not interested in it. Not that I could very well still become an attorney. I'm still alive, but I don't see that in my future right now. But I had a plan. And there were so many things that will throw you off your square, and you get so upset about, and you internalize, and you can say, I'm failing, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then once you get to a certain level of, and I'm one of these people too that had to grow into this. You hear people say it all the time, particularly if you're in church, let go and let God. I was never one of those people.
Can't let it go.
But my testimony is, once I did do that, I did find a level of peace. I did find a level of things working themselves out. Just kind of and I've been accused of being nonchalant in all manner of things and relationships, and
You just don't care.
I've gotten into many of argument with my wife about me not caring and not showing and and I try to tell her it's not that. It's just what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I do care, but I understand what I can control and what I can't. And I'm not going to get myself caught up into what I can't, because I did that. In my 20s and into my 30s, I found myself being very stressed out. I found myself not sleeping about things that I had no control over. So it's like, at this point.
So do you feel then that it's your or our responsibility to explain to other people where we are in that realm, even if they don't ask?
Yes. And I think we see a lot of it with younger men. Like you said, if you're talking about men in particular, black men in particular, we see a lot of it now. We see a lot of it with this, and then we old when we start saying stuff like this, with this grind culture and, we don't, I'll rest when I'm dead type of thing. I got to go get the bag and got to hustle till I'm, and it's like, hustle or die and all this kind of stuff. It's like, what are you really, because if you're doing all of this, getting the bag and hustling and blah, 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 what are you doing it for?
Because then you get to this point, our age, and you realize you've done all this hustling and working. You ain't got nothing to show for it in terms of you've let life just skip you by.
Absolutely.
You've been working 80 hours a week.
Absolutely.
So I'm good.
Particularly if you have a family. Particularly if you're a single man, and you've done all this hustling and grabbing the bag and whatever, and then you're 50 years old, and you say, okay, now I want to settle down because I've achieved. Like you said, life has really passed you by.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those women that you could have built with, okay, they're with somebody else now. So now you're looking at kids, and I say kids, or women half your age,
30s,
who are just going to be with you, and they're going to spend all your money.
All of it.
They're going to put you in an early grave because you're trying to keep up with them.
You're going to find out what a Birkin bag is.
Exactly. Flip side of that is, okay, you did find a spouse along the way, but you hustled and hustled. You may have had children, and now you're in your 50s and you say, okay, now we can live, but your kids hate you because they never saw you.
And she had a side piece that you never knew about.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
And one of them kids might not be yours because of it.
So now you depressed, you got anxiety.
Exactly. So
what the hell?
It's like sometimes you got to really know what you have when you have it. And don't let, again, like you said, yes, it's up to us. One of the things that, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, stop looking over the fence at what somebody else has.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do a lot of that. I know we would, particularly when you're doing things in your early 20s, you want to, I remember a buddy of mine, we were in our 20s, we had just got our first jobs, and he was like, let's go out and get some fur coats. Because, we in Detroit, baby. Yeah, we in Detroit. We do it up.
That Dietrich sale is still going on.
That's right.
They've restocked.
And I'm going, I don't think I want a fur coat right now. I mean, I just, and it was like, we got money, we can go do it. We can go get a coat. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't really want that. But a lot of people do. They go out and they buy these things and they get, the cars and all that. And it's like, that's cool and all. But when you get to this age and you start saying, if I had took that money and put it in a mutual fund or invested in this stock.
Invested in Uber.
Right. It's like, how much money could I really have and how could I really be living? So it is incumbent upon us to say that. The problem is, one of the things that I do and I'm still working on, I do have empathy. I do have compassion. Patience, I'm still working on. Because I can be patient with someone who is open to learning. If they don't know and they're really open to learning something, I can be patient with them. But when you come back to me and say, I got it, and I'm trying to tell you, you don't have it.
You ain't got it.
You ain't got it. Because you're gonna circle back eventually and say, you know what, Unc? I remember when you had told me. That's not gonna make me feel better. It's gonna make me angry, actually.
And at that point being quite dismissive.
Exactly. So
you know, and for me, I'm glad you brought that up with patience, man, because I've been praying on that for decades. And I find that the very thing that you pray for, God will put a test in front of you for that very thing. You know, I finally got to the point now where I don't, go off on nobody while I'm driving. You know, I don't know if that's a direct result of my medication I have to take every day. But anyway, I think that as you get older, you start to see things that aren't as important as you thought they were because they don't have a direct impact upon you. I know for me, optimism, that's something that I've gotten better at, because back in the day, I was Mr. Pessimistic. I'm always skeptical about something and, what set you claim. But now I'm looking I find myself telling other people, the bright side of it is, because one of my sayings is, it could always be worse.
That's true.
And I mean, hey, I ain't got $10 a day, but it's somebody that ain't never had $10. So, I find myself being more optimistic. But I think, too, one of the things that we can do as, folks of our generation is, how do we find a way to share that wisdom with the young folks? And to your point, we can talk till we blue in the face because that's what we do as parents. But how do we tell these people and get them to listen? Because I'm not trying to put it in no damn rap song or nothing like that to catch their attention, like they've done with gospel music. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but still. I just think that
I don't like it, but that's okay.
Well, you don't like Kirk Franklin?
I like Kirk Franklin. I don't like Kirk Franklin when he has a rap feature, though.
Yeah.
I would rather, and to be honest, some days I just want to hear like choir music or quartets or something. Because it's like I need old school. But
you don't need to be dropping beats for Jesus.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Okay. How do we though get to that generation? Because again, I think what most people in the younger, they don't realize that all we're trying to do is help. That's it.
Yeah, we're competing with so much though.
But you know what they think? We're trying to tell them how to live. And I'm not trying to tell you how to live. That's your life. I got to tell my sons, that's your life.
But we're competing against people of their age group who seem to have it all together. And they'd rather listen to someone their age because they think that they can relate to them better.
In your opinion, who would that be?
This is social media. This isn't their peer group. This isn't the people that they actually went to school with or know, because we all know just from personal experience, and I think this is everybody across the board. If you went to school, high school, college with somebody, and you see them 2 or 3 years after you went to school with them. So let's say you went to high school with somebody, and you're 20, 21, you run into this person, and you work at the car wash, and they just finished their, first year of residency. You're gonna be like, well, what happened? What you're gonna do some self-evaluation.
You drying off their Cadillac, and you like, this you
legally? This you actually bought this legally? It could be some self-reflection there, or that might be what you aspire to. I want to just work at the car wash. But you'll be able to have that relationship because you know this person. Now, it's different if you work at the car wash and you looking at somebody on Instagram and they are washing their 2 Lamborghini trucks in front of their 5-bedroom, and it's like, we the same age. I could do what they could do. Well, you don't know if that stuff is real. You don't know if that belongs to them. You don't know if that's their house, their car. You don't know how they got it. None of that stuff. But whatever they tell you, you're going to aspire to do that. If I say, yeah, what you need to do, since you're working at the car wash, you can start your own, mobile auto washing service. If you want to do that, you can franchise. Yeah, I ain't listening to that.
Talk to the owner. How did you get started?
Because see, that's going to take time to build up to that level. He's already there. So I want to do it, but you don't know them.
They ain't listening to you because
They're not listening to me because I'm talking about work. I'm talking about work and time and patience and dedication where they can see it in real time where he didn't put in all this work, but you don't know them. And I think that the hardest part is us trying to convey that to people. We know them. And they actually, with a child or a relative, they saw you develop into this. And it's like, I see how much time it took. I remember you when I was 5. Now I'm 25. And in those 20 years, I saw you develop, but that took 20 years. You know, you lived in this house, then you went to this house, now you live in this big house. You went from this car to this car, now you got to drink. But that took a long time.
Yep, and it didn't happen overnight because I recently had a conversation with someone who their peer was just drafted into the NFL. He's a millionaire. And this person said to me, well, you know, we played football together. You know, I'm like, dang, that's where he at. Now I think about, you know, that could have been me. So I had to explain to this person, that wasn't your path. That's that person's path. So then I had to further explain, do you realize the amount of pressure that this young man has on him now? Not only do you have all this money, mind you, he came from money, so he's used to that, but you are in a highly competitive career, which means that, yeah, you was the first round pick. Guess what? People coming after your job. So every year you have pressure to get better because you have to keep this job. If you don't get better, you could get cut, and there you go.
And people that don't know you and can't do what you do scrutinize you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're going to critique you. They're going to talk about how you do your job and how much money you make to do the job that you were hired to do. And are you really worth? And these are people that have so like you said, the pressure is a different level because that doesn't happen in the real world. Nobody is telling you, unless you're like a waitress or something, you know, how you doing your job bad. But I mean, nobody really comes into an office and says, you know, let me tell you I know how much money you make, first of all. And based on the money you're making, you need to be doing a better job. Nobody does that.
Yep. Because I know, you know, this person's father. So I have some insight in terms of the pressure that's being put on this young man. But again, I mean, I don't doubt that he can rise above it. But like I was telling the other person, dude, you have no idea the amount of pressure that's under this. And I think, you know, for us, I tell, you know, especially my boys, my youngest is 22. And I tell him, I say, everything that you're going through, I've been through. You know, and to quote a good friend of mine, I lived through the crack era. So if I lived through the crack era, man, you can't tell. Successfully, let me say that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't affected by it. You know, may have been some family members that, yeah. But, you know, and I think that they sometimes think that we're, as older individuals, you know, OG, you disconnected. No, because the same thing you going through now, I've been through that. You know, I tell them, though, the one thing that I have seen that's gotten worse, quite honestly, is, fam, don't get mad. These young ladies out here, bruh, they ruthless. And when we were coming up, we thought we was running game, and we may have been. But now, I tell my son, I say, man, you got to go into everything. I even had to tell him, you can't treat every female the same. You see how I treated your mother. You see how the women around you are being treated. You can't go out here and give, you know, Alicia from the East Side the same treatment from day one. Because you'll see at some point they don't deserve it because of the way that they moving. So I'm like, these young ladies out here, they setting brothers up. And it's like, and the crazy part is, I told my son, I said, do you realize for the cats that's getting set up by these young ladies, these other brothers are telling them to set up these other brothers. So they got men telling them to set up such. No. And it's,
Yeah.
again, we don't know what we're talking about.
And it used to be a time where you could meet a young lady, she can give you her address and say, come on by the crib. And we would come.
Yep.
We would go. And then would be like, oh.
In good faith.
And I don't know if I should be here, but we would go.
And God would take care of you.
And we look, and we're still here. Nothing happened. But now, I wouldn't. It's like I don't. A lot of that has to do with single mothers raising children.
Mm-hmm.
The single moms have put into a lot of these young ladies' head, don't trust no man. They really not no good. Look at what your daddy did. That part is hopefully they're not. But a lot of that isn't. So a young lady will see a man as a vehicle, as a means to an end.
Mm-hmm. Let me get what I can.
Let me get what I can from them because they all the same. They're not gonna do me right. So on and so forth. So the setup part is just part and parcel of this whole mistrust. Mm. And then the same thing with the young men. They're if their mother was nice, they think all the women are gonna be nice.
Yeah.
If their mother was ruthless, then they gonna think all the women gonna be ruthless. So they gonna treat them as such. So it's like, what are we? But again, it's because we lived through the crack era. We kind of saw a little bit of both sides. So it's the mistrust is there. And I think when you say one of the good things, I think one of the good things is surviving the crack era. Because people that grew up in the 60s, they survived Vietnam and the civil rights era and all that kind of stuff. People that grew up in the 50s, they survived Jim Crow and all. So it's always an era to me that you're getting through. I think this era right now,
social media era.
And see, that's the thing. Are you surviving social media era, or are you being just influenced? But were we influenced by the crack era? Some of us were, because not we.
Well,
now we at the table.
Not personally.
We didn't sell crack, but we know we both know people who did, and we both know people who were affected by, the usage of it. But now, if you say that, like, yeah, they taking pills and they doing all kind of the fentanyl thing or whatever, but it's not like it was then, because that crack economy, you felt it everywhere. I mean, it was different.
And what I look at too is, for us, one of the things that I think was beneficial was our influence came from our peers and our parents. Mm-hmm. And, I had friends that by the time I turned, 13 or whatever, they was going left, stealing cars, selling drugs. Mm-hmm. I was going right. And they knew that I wasn't doing what they was doing. So they let me be. Mm-hmm. It wasn't no peer pressure. Gene, come on, let's go. Right. Steal it. No. And even when I got to the military, some of my friends, they, smoked and did whatever they. And my roommate was one of them. And they was getting ready to go out one night. Hey, man, we about to go smoke. And, hey, Mitch, you coming? And my roommate, Mitch, don't do that. So, I mean, the influences of us and each other, as well as our parents, I think that did us some good. But now it seems to be solely where these kids are influenced by their peers. And the parents, we have a hard road to travel, because we're trying to break in and see, well, can I have some type of influence over my kid? And even now, talking about the high rate of suicide, what I find crazy is that a lot of these parents are saying, I didn't even know. I didn't know he was depressed. I didn't know he was having problems.
But they don't, it's like you didn't know your child.
Exactly. So, you let him stay in his room with his door closed for days on end, where you didn't know what he had in there. My mother used to toss my room, literally. Yeah. I wasn't there, but she would tell me, I went to your room.
And I'm not going to blame parents for clinical depression.
Yeah.
But I will say that there is some influence over children who look at, again, you're looking over the fence at what somebody else has, what somebody else is doing. And to your point, I never felt peer pressure to the point of where I was going to do something that I did not want to do.
Nope.
And I think that's another thing too that even we have that was I think is a good attribute that we have that they don't have today necessarily is we're accountable. Now, anytime somebody does something wrong, they're gonna find a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find the reason
To blame
why.
someone else.
Yeah, well, this
Yep.
is the reason why this happened. This is the reason why they did what they did. How about they just was bad person? I mean,
Dumbass.
you're right. You just there was, you can't tell me, well, he going on. I went to go smoke crack because my friend was smoking crack. I wanted to smoke crack. I mean,
and that was your choice. So
that was my choice. I had a friend, and he's passed away now, not from crack, but he smoked crack. We was like 15, 16 years old. He was selling crack, so he said he wanted to try it, and he tried it, and he was like, "Oh my God, it was incredible." And I said, "Well, that's good for you," because I wasn't doing that.
it's a teachable moment.
That wasn't right.
I'm straight,
I'm
bruh.
straight. That's not my thing. And I know and again, he's selling crack, and then I find out, recreationally using crack. But I'm like, but again, like what you said, I never was with him when he was selling crack. I never was with him when he was using crack.
Just knew.
I just knew about it. And if I know that he was going to go do those things, check it out. I'm going this way while you do that. Now, he and I'm sure we're going to get to this in the bad thing. He did have some health challenges from which he passed away from. Now, did his drug use
Contribute
to that? I don't know. But I think that the good stuff is the things that we lived through, and we had that wisdom passed on from the past generations. We did sit down and listen, even if we didn't apply everything at that moment, because I will give some grace to young people. Yeah, they'll look at it like, you probably don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But eventually, you're going to, if you stay the course and live long enough, you're going to circle back around and say,
I remember when such and such said that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's good that we were able to be in a generation that lived through a lot of things. And we were able to kind of tap in. Because I had no problem listening to a lot of what they said was entertaining to me.
So, wait a minute. Whether it was forced upon you
whether
or
it was
not.
forced upon me or not.
a lot of times you had no choice.
And I got good life lessons, even Uncle told me always drink top shelf, I had an aunt stay in a gambling joint. She always said she never drank or smoked because she had to stay sober because she was in these illegal spots, one way in, one way out. She had to see if some, crap games go left in a minute. So, I got to see what's happening so I can get out of there.
I had old school tell me one time, you go over a female's house, don't ever take your wallet in the house, leave it in the car.
See?
So, hey, I passed that wisdom on.
You got to pass that don't. Grandfather told me one time, you never cheat. We were playing. My brother liked to cheat. He watching this. He was growing up. He liked to cheat cards. And one time he was cheating, and my grandfather called us and was livid. And was like, "Don't you ever cheat. Don't you ever cheat. That's how you get killed." So we 10 years old.
Like, y'all playing Uno?
No, we was playing spades. So I got tongue. I don't remember. But it's like, get killed? What are you talking about? We playing. We sitting at the table.
And I never cheated at cards again.
But as I grew older, I knew someone who got killed
cheating
at the poker table cheating.
See?
And I said, aha. Those lessons come back.
Woo, yes. So we're asking fam, but as we're getting older and gaining wisdom, share it. By all means, share that wisdom, because one of the things that I think about, and I told my son and my kids this, where my mom, God rest her soul, the things that she would tell us, we thought, of course, she was preaching, as parents are prone to do. But I can remember vividly, like it was yesterday, certain situations that I was on the cusp of getting into that I shouldn't have been getting. I would hear my mother's voice in the back of my head. You better not do that. Mm-hmm. And that is something that, and granted, I'm not perfect, so every now and then I would, stray off. But for the most part, that's what kept me on the straight and narrow. 'Cause no. Because what I pictured was my mother finding out, and that's the last thing I wanted is for her to unleash that 5'3" of pure hell on me. So I think now a lot of times the younger generation feels like I've got rights. We didn't know we didn't have rights when we were young, did we?
No, we all, but I know you did, and I know I did. Thought our parents were a little crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, and it was a healthy fear.
Healthy dose of fear, yes.
Because it's like every now and then you got to show that little craziness.
Mm-hmm.
So when those moments come, you say,
They can
now,
reflect.
Do I want to do this? Because I don't know how they gonna read. I really don't. They could be calm, or I don't know because they got that. Eesh.
Nah, they wasn't called.
So now you're talking about rights. This is my right.
Yeah. See,
that's all.
I think I had a right to breathe. That was
basically.
Probably, but we have been able to live a pretty good life in terms of not going to jail because we came up when we were a statistic, and if we graduated high school, we was we was in front of the game right there. Mm-hmm. Then to go on to college and graduate, we were unicorns. Mm-hmm. So I think now we see things from a different lens, whereas now I look back on some things and like, that wasn't nothing but God that brought me through that. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was just living life.
You're just living life.
Footloose and fancy free. But now I think in our zest and our zeal to pass on wisdom to this younger generation, for me, it gets frustrating because I see it as it's so easy. This is black and it's white. Ain't no gray. But you telling me you think I'm trying to run your life. Dude, I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah, it's not.
And I tell them too, at some point, I'm going to stop offering this help. Because
your patience run out.
If you in your 30s, I'm not going to be telling you the same stuff I was telling you when you was a teenager, because it's not. Because a lot of stuff that we go through in terms of trying to pass wisdom on, it manifests itself into health challenges. So
I was gonna say it's a good transition.
Fam, over 50 and health challenges. Here we go. There's a funny analogy that I heard, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like once we get over 50, our conversation, matter of fact, I think it was you, our conversations amongst our peers is more along the lines of comparing the different medications that we take it. And, we got a bunch of stuff in common in terms of that. I think one of the things as black men that we come up against a lot is prostate cancer.
Yes.
And, I think that, while they don't have, let me not say that because I don't know it for sure that they don't have a cure for cancer, because a lot of people think that they do.
There is one, but
another show, fam.
Yeah.
But I look at it and we have friends and family members. My dad had prostate cancer, and I think because they say it's not a cure, my thing is it's not like you can prevent it. They tell you you have regular screenings, this, that, and the third. And for us as black men, it's very prominent in our community. But outside of, having regular screenings and living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And I know several people who are prostate cancer survivors. I know a friend of mine told me just this week that they were diagnosed with prostate cancer. And they caught it in the very early stages.
Now, was he having regular screenings?
Yes.
Okay.
Having regular screenings, going to the doctor, like you said, living a healthy lifestyle, going to the gym, multiple times a week. Don't eat fried foods, don't eat, and the whole, the list of things that you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And like you said, yet and still, was still diagnosed with it. Mm-hmm. We got into the conversation because I was notifying him another friend recently had a stroke and has some paralysis.
In our age group.
I'm sorry. All of these people are in our age group. Let me preface that. These ain't people that's in their 80s. These are people in their 50s. Who I've known since I was in my teens. So that's the other part of that. It's like I still look at you as an 18-year-old.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, when I'm looking at you, Eugene, I'm looking at you as a 13, 14-year-old. You know, and I know we're not that anymore. We still act like it. And I think we probably will until we, you know, whenever I see older men sit around, it's like y'all still see each other as young men. I get it.
Exactly.
But when you start comparing medications, when you start talking to your friend like, hey, man, you need to get some rest. Watch your blood pressure. You know, it used to be, you know, Friday night, hey, man, what time you going to bed? Well, you know what I'm saying? It used to be we was going to the club. What time we leaving? Now it's like, what time we going to bed? That kind of stuff. It's really, it's different. It's a different dynamic almost because it's like, I heard the average age expectancy for black men in this country is 67.
Wow.
And when you say, I'm 55, you like, I know I got more than 12 years left.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know I feel like, I feel good, but you start looking like the stresses of life that can contribute. Because my friend, the one that had the stroke, that's the main thing. The first thing he said, man, stress. I have another friend who actually passed last year after having a stroke. I know it was stress. We talked about it before he even had the stroke. And it's like, it's not far off anymore. It's like right now. And that's when you start feeling your mortality and you're like, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
Can I eat better? Can I exercise more? Can I not get caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses and the Johnsons and whoever else? Can I give advice to my children and let them, you know, make their own mistakes and kind of live their own lives and then, you know, circle back later on because you pray that they do well and they have the time to circle back and say, you know, Dad, you were right. Or, Dad, you were wrong. I don't care which one it is. But
you know what, man, that is so true when it comes to stress because we try to do things that can, you know, alleviate it, the diet, the exercise, things like that. Unfortunately, I think too, we have to battle certain things, i.e., cardiovascular disease or diabetes, certain things that we have a genetic predisposition to because it's in our family. I mean, I know for me, I got heart disease on mom's side. I got diabetes on my father's side. You know, cancer is in. I mean, so it's like you can do everything that they tell you should do, and it could still hit you. You know, and in terms of the stressors, what I found, and I remember a friend of mine some years ago, she said she was talking to. She doesn't have kids, but she said she was talking to a coworker, an older lady, and she told her, she said, the thing about having kids is she wished that she hadn't have had kids because as a parent, she said, you worry about your kids every day.
Yes.
And I thought about that and I was like, damn, she's right.
Yes.
And to your point, you know, it adds to your stress because at our age, we supposed to be riding that wave, you know, but we have kids. And I told my wife just recently, we're good. Life is good. We doing good. But we always got to, you know, keep a certain box over here for the kids because we know at some point something's going to come. So that's where the stress and the strain comes into play. Absolutely. And I'm saying to myself, well, damn, is there ever going to be a time where everything's going to be going good?
You know, there are people who have, for those who don't have children, I'll say this, and I used to hear this a lot of times. People would like get married or they would, you know, go through life and not have a child. And people say, well, they selfish. You know, okay, I'll give you an example. Like people like Oprah. Okay, Oprah don't have no children. Well, Oprah got all that money. She's selfish. She don't want it. Oprah don't have to worry about. That's a whole nother stressor that she don't even have to worry about.
Amen.
I don't have to worry about. And I mean, having children is wonderful. They can add to they should add to your life. But at the same time, like you said, you're never gonna stop worrying about how are they doing, what do they do, if they get and because and I've said this to my children before. You come to me and you vent and you tell me what's going on. My immediate response is I'm gonna try to fix it.
How can I help? Yep.
And they may not be looking for you to fix it. They may be looking just to kind of vent. But I tell them I'm the wrong one to vent to.
Yep.
Because my immediate response is,
how do we resolve the problem?
how do we resolve? I need to fix it because that's what I'm used. When you're 3 and you came to me and said, "Oh, I scraped my knee. Okay, I got it. Oh, I kiss it, put a Band-Aid on it." Nah. Now you 33 and you're like, I don't know what to do about this situation. Well, I don't want you to tell me what to do.
See,
what you telling me for?
But they need to understand that as parents, that's what we do. We're problem solvers.
Exactly.
Because you can do everything right and still have a crazy nutso kid like the Reiner kid in California that killed his parents.
And now you're going to look, and now you're going to drop that all on me.
See.
And I'm sitting here, rest in peace to Rob Reiner and his wife. But I'm sitting there in bed every night like, is he going to come in here and kill me? Is he going to come in here and kill? I can't.
Dad, why the door locked? Hey,
right.
You got to knock first.
I can't. Don't tell me things about you. Because if it's a coworker or if it's somebody that you really not, because if it's a friend, even your friend is going to tell you stuff and you're going to kind of, I'm going to give you my advice. I'm going to give you what you might want to do, whatever. And you kind of just let it go. Because you understand that they're going to deal with it, whatever. But when it's your child, you're like, I can't let that go. They may have moved on. They may have just, But now, here I am a week later. So how'd that work out? Oh, let's be done with that. Oh, I've been stressing about a week.
Because see, you can remember when your parents would get on you. And I saw a video, it was funny, where the mama came and she had gotten on her son, but then she came back and her way of apologizing, she was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to fix something to eat. What you want? Kids sitting in there, okay, yeah, show me how to get on the internet to get them shoes you was talking about. That's their way of apologizing.
That was the apologies that I got.
So.
Dinner's ready, come on.
Yeah, see, that's their way of saying, I'm sorry.
I don't, but I did, but now, like you said, and for me, so you got some sons. I don't have no sons. I got all girls. My communication style is still evolving. I still communicate where I will raise my voice. And I'm not yelling at them. I'm raising my voice to make emphasis on what I'm saying. I'm raising my voice to make a point. And I've told, well, you don't have to yell. You don't have to. But that's how I talk.
Now you want me to change who I am.
Now you want me to change who I am. And
You've been with me all your life.
And it's, but I don't come from that. I don't come from that. From mother or father. I don't come from, it is what it is. But again, trying to mesh all of this into, that's more of a stressor on me. It's just let me be myself.
Yeah. Now you got to worry about, tempering your comments and your tone and your intonation and all of that. And it's like, okay.
But when the older people spoke their mind, they ain't have all them health challenges. They just kind of let it go.
Shut up.
And
then they go on and drink their beer and watch TV.
And live to be 106.
Now we lucky we can get to 70.
Right. We trying to get to 70 and got all this modern medicine.
And you know what I think about, with the health challenges, a lot of it to me is things that have always been there, but our parents, they dealt with whatever they dealt with the way that they dealt with it. And now it seems like, preventative measures are nothing more than diet and exercise.
Because the food is killing us. I think the food is killing us.
I could see that because they're making it cheaper where they just don't care what type of chemicals they be, because all these super processed foods and all of this other stuff. And it's like, we can remember back in the day, there wasn't a lot of fat kids in the 70s. You know, we
No,
had a
really.
lot of physical activity that we was doing and whatnot. And now I cringe when I see kids under the age of 10 that are morbidly obese.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And it's
You know,
like,
your
well,
way of calming little Johnny down is to give him a Twinkie. If you don't get your fat outside,
and all of that was treats for us. I mean,
yes.
we
McDonald's,
was maybe once a month.
man. And if you knew that was on,
That was maybe
you good.
and it was and I couldn't wait to be a teenager when I got a little job, make my own money. I can go to McDonald's many times I want to. And even then, I didn't go all the time, but it was like that was a treat. You know, Twinkies were a treat. You know, it wasn't, you know, and if you had enough money to get a honey bun or apple pie,
Oh Lord.
shout out to Hostess for
Yes.
giving us all kind of diabetes.
I
But
remember. 49, 59, 69 cents. I think once they got over 69, I was like, I can't do it.
yeah. And I mean, but those are the type of things with treats. Now, like you said, it's a calming mechanism.
When I drop your goddaughter off in the morning in school, I see kids getting out of cars with carry-out bags, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's. Huh? That's your lunch?
Or breakfast.
And I'm sitting there. I don't understand these newfangled parents. It just baffles me.
And all of that stuff is like, that's killing us. My great grandmother lived to be 101. I don't remember her eating very much meat in life. Not that she was a vegetarian or nothing like that, and definitely wasn't no vegan. But she did what, like, everything was vegetable based, and then so it was almost like greens and chicken, not chicken and greens. You know, it was every once in a while she'd have, as she put it, beef meat. So she'd have
A burger.
a small roast, and she would eat on that for maybe, you know,
A week.
yeah, you know, a couple little piece of meat here, and then green beans and whatever. And it was like, and they were always fresh vegetables.
Not
So
that frozen
not
crap.
yeah, not the, in particular, and really not the canned stuff either. Canned stuff with all the salt in it, and it was like, as a reflection of that, I'm like, yeah, she didn't eat a lot of processed food at all. She ate mostly fresh stuff because she came from that. I'm gonna use another big word, agrarian society.
There you go.
Where you farmed and you grew your own food, and it was like that's what you eat. Now we're killing ourselves for convenience, and
Because it's easier to go to rallies and get the Glorilla meal for $6 than to go
or McDonald's with the sweetie meal.
go to the supermarket and buy you some fresh fruits and vegetables. So
Yeah.
we got a long way to go. I think, you know, one of the things too that we have to look at is, you know, as a matter of convenience, it just feeds into the whole negative stereotype of us, I'm going to say it, as Americans. Because you don't see a lot of the problems, a lot of the health challenges that we have here. You don't see them in other countries.
Nope.
You know, and a lot of these countries, they footloose and fancy free. They stress free. They can live off of next to nothing because they got everything they need. We are the ones, fam, that want to have all of this. We want to have a big house. We want to have the 3 cars. And at the end of the day, I always tell my wife, can't take it with you.
Nope.
All I need to do is make sure my insurance policy is paid up. So when I leave, y'all have a little bit. Put me away nicely and do what you're going to do with the
Right.
rest.
I'm not gonna make you cry twice.
So,
But I'm not going. It's not my responsibility to hustle and put myself in an early grave to set up what, a legacy.
so how do you feel about the comments you hear from, especially a lot of celebrities and stuff, black celebrities, men and stuff? I want to create generational wealth so that my grandkids can, you know, live comfortably.
I think that's asinine.
Because you're not teaching anybody the value of hard work. If I know that I got money over here, I'm going to be a lazy sucker for however long I can be.
I want to be able to, if I'm setting that type of thing up, I want to look at hopefully I'm doing it so I can live long enough to at least see my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to see if I've taught my children how to make the money work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're teaching their children how to do that. That's how you set up generational wealth. You don't set up generational wealth by making $1 billion and saying, now y'all can live on the interest.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can live on my investment. Because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yep.
Particularly, you start seeing how they just tricking the money off.
And I'd have a trust so airtight, you get $500 every other month. So you gotta work. You ain't gonna get no windfall.
And that's the thing about the celebrities and athletes that say those type of things is because you have a talent that allowed you to get that money.
Mm.
Your children may not have that same talent.
Mm-hmm.
So you worked to get it. So, okay, I'm not saying that, athletics and entertainment is not work, but you work to get it based on your talent. If your kids don't have that talent, they're going to have to work to keep it.
And that's what we mentioned on one of our previous shows.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking to, the financial planner. Generational wealth is achieved by, you pass the money on, but your people have to be smart enough to know how to manage that.
Absolutely.
Which means they're going to have some type of financial skill set to make sure that this money don't just whittle away. And we don't see it that way. And even with, I won't even just put it on white celebrities. They had these kids that come up and just
trick the money off.
Yes. What? It's gone.
Trick the money off. If you fam, look up J. Paul Getty. If you look up J. Paul Getty and how his family just tricked off his fortune, it was like because they felt they were entitled because I'm going to make this money. It's going to be generational wealth. Well, the generations didn't go that far because they felt they were entitled to it and they weren't taught how to make the money, make more money.
Yeah.
And I think that this whole and for me saying I want to create generational wealth, is that my goal? I mean, is that what's gonna give me that fulfillment that people that I'll never meet is gonna have money? That doesn't give me fulfillment.
And that's a lot of pressure you put on yourself.
Again.
So then you mess around and you missed all the good trappings of life because you've been working so hard to create generational wealth.
Now here I am saying, oh, you're not going to have to work. You and your children's children are going to have to work. I don't know them people.
And as soon as they pull the plug on you, woohoo, they having a party.
They going to put me in a pine box and spend $1 million on the repass. I have Flavor Flav to come in. And, come on, y'all.
So we can do better. I think, fam, as we get older, there are good things about it, there are bad things. I personally think the good things are outweighing the bad things. Yeah, we're going to have health challenges, but hell, these days, who doesn't have health challenges? The one thing we want you guys to remember is that, you got to enjoy life. And I think that in and of itself can reduce a lot of stress. Stop putting pressure on yourself to be the best, to be at the top of your game, And Carl, I think we look at all these white folks back in the day that became millionaires and billionaires. Lives were trash because they had family members that was doing God knows what. My wife and I recently were talking about Bernie Madoff.
Oh, wow.
And wife had no idea.
Well, she says she did.
Well, but at the end of the day,
I'll say she did.
At the end of the day, flat broke. Sons got hemmed up. And what Bernie do? I think I'm gonna go ahead and die. Y'all can handle this.
Well, remember, one of the sons killed himself.
Yeah.
Behind, but here's the flip side of Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff's portfolios for his clients never decreased through any financial struggles, through any depressions, recessions, through any stock market crashes, all of that happened, their portfolios continue to go up. They never questioned why.
No.
So I always say he was only able to operate based on their greed and based on their sense that he was some type of sorcerer.
Financial wizard, yes.
And it's like, had you not been greedy, had you not continued to feed the beast, despite of what you see,
Mm-hmm.
despite of your neighbor whose stock portfolio went down $100,000, the same time yours went up $100,000, and you think
There's a correlation.
Bernie's smarter, I'm going to give him more money. He wouldn't have been able to run the scheme. Just like on Sanford and Son. You go back and watch the Commode episode. Fred told Lamont the scheme wouldn't have been able to work if you wasn't greedy. So those people too, once Bernie got found out and their money was gone, a lot of them committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, are destitute, and they're crying. And again, you do feel some empathy for people or some type of compassion, because some people did lose their life savings and so on and so forth. But I'm looking at them at the same time saying, you had a life savings to lose.
Yep.
And you had a lot of money that you continued to invest.
I mean, I watched it, and they, people throwing in $1 million here, 300,000 there, and you crying because what?
You had that much money, and you did it based on, I'm smarter than the average bear, thinking that I'm gonna get this money. And yeah, Bernie, he did his time in the penitentiary, and then he just said, "Well, that's enough." So I mean,
go ahead and take a nap.
But the people that he left, like you said, he left his family in ruin. He left a lot of people's lives in ruin, and this is all behind, chasing the bag.
Greed. So, fam, it's a lot to learn. Again, we thank you guys for being here. Always say, drop us a line in the comment section, like the episode, subscribe to it, share it. We got a lot of new content coming up, so we want you guys to go out there, take a look at the old episodes. We got some real good content out there. We got some good topics, and we're always coming to you from a place of, number one, love. Number two, we just trying to help. So again, we say, till next time, stay prayerful, stay positive, stay patient, stay peaceful.